For your vector graphics part of the projects, you're going to be creating a location for your characters. So you need to decide what the next step is for those characters. Where are they going to live? Where is their adventure going to be? That type of thing. So you're going to create a location using vectors and drawing tools that you have done in the vector graphics sites. So what I'm going to do first is kind of show you one of the sites that will work really well. You do have to have at least one vector image that you pull off of a website in your piece. So I went to Vexy and used it. So I'm going to show you some of the options that you can do on here. But first, let's take a look at the assignment itself. So what I did was I created this bedroom. What I knew I wanted to have was the teddy bear and the baby doll from my Photoshop project sitting on a bed in a bedroom, and then they're gonna float up and around with their balloons. So I wanted to have this bedroom scene, and I created part of it and then I used part of it with vector images. So let's start with the background. So what I did was I created, whoops, come on. Keep clicking the wrong one. Okay, so I started with this background here. So I took my shape tool, which is another thing that you have to have according to requirements. You need to be using the drawing tools, the pen tool, the pencil tool, the shape tool. So I used the shape tool and I created some rectangles. And then I used my direct selection tool on the corners and I shaped them to actually fit this three-dimensional looking wall. Another requirement you have to have is you have to use color fill, strokes, or gradients. So I used gradients to create my wall. They go from dark to light, you can see here, and then on the floor I did do from dark to light this way as well. Then to use my other requirement, have a vector image, I found this image on that website that I was talking about, and I used it to be my outdoor scene. I then built up the window using the pen tool, kind of created this window and the shapes of it. And then I also put some curtains over it. Now, with the curtains, I used a gradient as well, so you can kind of see that the curtains have some shape to them. And I created this little bit of a drop shadow behind the top curtain by just copying this sublayer right here and pulling it down and making it all one dark color. So you can build that kind of depth to them. Then for the last part, what I did was I wanted to have somebody sleeping in a bed, and instead of spending all the time illustrating this, I went ahead and found a vector image. So this is another vector image here, so is the poster. Now, even if you use a vector image, you are welcome to use your direct selection tool and be able to click on parts of it and be able to change those sections colors. So if I wanted this to be a gradient of blue instead of a gradient of purple, I can go in and do that, or change the hair color, or not the hair color, the hat color, or the pillow, or anything like that, okay? For the nightstand, the lamp, and the shelf, I went ahead and I just drew those out using both shape tools and the pen tool, so also meets my requirements. Now, I suggest before you start doing this that you start off with a document that's 1260 by 720. I believe I put those in the requirements at the top, so just to make it easier for you to be able to move this over into the Illustrator into the animation program when we get to it later in the semester. So you won't have to like stretch stuff or resize stuff or anything like that. It'll already be done for you. Okay, so next, I want to go ahead and show you how to save this. So you're going to save it again 2 ways, just like you did the photo editor program. You're going to go up to File and do Save As, and you can go ahead and name it. And the first one you're going to save as an AI file. Just like we did with Photoshop, with all the layers, we want to keep this in our layers and sub-layers over here. So we're going to save it as an AI file. So rename it, put it where you want it, and hit Save. Now, I really big on making sure that I save everything into a folder together. That way, on any of these images that link, I don't have to worry about, making sure they're linked in, they're going to find each other. This way, everything's in the same folder. So this is specifically a vectors graphic for the module, and it's a project folder. And then you would hit save. I'm going to hit cancel because I've already saved it. So now you have that first one. So for the second one, for the one you're going to actually turn in for this project, I want you to go ahead and save it as a PDF. That's kind of like the flattened version, just like we did on the last program. So you're going to come up to File and you'll do Save As, and you'll change it from AI to Adobe PDF. And you're going to save it again. That file is going to be the one that you turn in. Just like with the JPEG, it's going to compress it, and it's not going to keep all the separate layers and sublayers. So it's just going to be a little bit smaller of a file. Now that you have it done and saved, let's actually go back to the beginning and kind of talk about these websites. So there's a lot of different vector websites. You can go to the helpful sites module that I put in, that welcome module, and kind of look at some different sites to go to. This is one of my favorite vector sites to kind of find. They have a lot of good options on it. You can come in here and you can type in something like, I knew I wanted a bedroom. So I'm going to type in bedroom, and it's going to pull up all these different ones. Just like with other ones I've showed you, you can change it so that you get just the free license stuff by clicking right here. You'll see some of them say free and some of them don't right now. That's because these are ones I'd have to pay for. Always make sure you go past the iStock because they want to charge you anyway for those. So I'm going to click free images and then kind of scroll down and find one that I like. Now on this site, whenever you do it, you go in it. As long as it says vector up here, if you free download, it's automatically going to give you a vector file, an SVG file, or an EPS file. Now, if you go to something like Pixabay and you type in that you want it, a bedroom, even under vectors up here, if you find one that you like and you go into it and you do the free download, it's going to ask you if you want a PNG or a vector. Now this one gives you the option, depending on what the image is. It may have an AI file, it may have an SVG, or it may have an EPS. So you're just going to have to find the file that you want. You just don't want the PNG because then it's going to be flattened. So you just select that and download it, and it works the same way. You just have to pick it on that one where you don't on this one. Okay, so if you have any questions, again, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll try and get you your answers. I look forward to seeing what you guys create and where your characters are going to be.